Breaking news! Something big could be brewing in Denver, and I'm telling you right now, if Sean Payton pulls it off, he could completely change the identity of this offense. We're talking about a player who's not just a receiver, but a dictator, a guy who strikes fear into defenders every time he steps onto the field. A guy so tough that his own teammates in San Francisco were fighting him in practice because of how much effort he put into every snap. And guess what? The Broncos are officially in the running to sign him. But before I explain everything, be sure to like this if you've been a true Broncos fan for years, especially if you've been bleeding orange and blue during these tough seasons. Leave this in the comments to let me know you're with me. Go, Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue. Now, here's where it gets interesting. What if I told you that Sean Payton might be considering adding a player who could be more important to Bo Nix's success than any of the other big-name wide receivers we've already mentioned? Asterisk, not because of his flashy, high-profile catches, although he could certainly do that, but because of the aggressive, physical mentality he brings. This guy was considered the best player on the 49ers offense by one of the best linebackers in football, and his presence could make Denver's entire offensive system more dangerous, more aggressive, and harder to stop. Would you like me to continue with a full retelling of the story, with this new tone and the same energy? Now, onto the big story. Jennings, currently with the San Francisco 49ers, has either demanded a new deal or requested a trade, and the Broncos are one of the teams reportedly inquiring about him. And let me tell you, this isn't just about adding another receiver for Bo Nix to throw to. No, Jennings brings something the Broncos have been missing on offense: nastiness, attitude, and toughness. He is the type of tone-setting player who doesn't just catch passes, he sets the physical tone for the whole offense. Last season with the Niners, he was seen literally driving defensive backs into the Gatorade tents. Against the Packers and Tryon Arnold, he made blocks so aggressive that defensive players reportedly tried to fight him in practice because they thought he was going too hard. That's the kind of fire Denver's offense has been lacking since guys like Emmanuel Sanders brought that same edge during our Super Bowl run. Sean Payton loved Lil Jordan Humphrey last season for the same reason, not because he was a top-tier route runner, but because he was a willing and physical blocker. Humphrey is gone, and Jennings could fill that role while also being a more talented receiving option. He's a physical beast, tough to tackle, and according to Fred Warner, arguably the best player on the 49ers offense, not Christian McCaffrey, not Deebo Samuel, but Jennings himself. He's the type of player that gets entire locker rooms behind him, a real fan favorite, and exactly the kind of gritty competitor who could elevate Bo Nix's second year. Of course, adding Jennings won't be easy. The wide receiver market is exploding right now. Garrett Wilson just signed a mind-blowing $130 million extension with the Jets, averaging $32.5 million per year. Compare that to Courtland Sutton's $13.5 million, and it's clear why Sutton is pushing for a new deal. This raises a serious question for Denver. Can they pay Sutton and still bring in Jennings, who may demand $20 million or more annually? The good news is that Denver is finally on the right side of Bo Nix's rookie contract and has more cap flexibility after the dead money hit from the Russell Wilson era clears after this season. The Walton Penner ownership group has the cash to front-load deals if Sean Payton wants it. Meanwhile, on defense, the Broncos continue to build their identity around stars like Patrick Surtain, who was just signed to the Jordan brand, joining elite athletes like Dak Prescott and Devontae Adams. Even Michael Jordan himself recognizes Surtain as a star, which is a huge nod to just how great he already is. Surtain, Zach Allen, and other defensive leaders bring that toughness Payton wants on defense. Jennings could be the offensive counterpart to that mentality. And don't forget, Jennings has some iconic moments that Broncos fans will love, like his legendary Hail Mary catch for Tennessee against Georgia. He thrives in big moments, and that's the type of energy Denver needs as they push for a deep playoff run. And here's where things get even more interesting: Broncos country. Let's talk about what bringing in Jawan Jennings could mean strategically for Sean Payton's offense. Payton has always valued versatile receivers who can do more than just run routes and make catches. Think back to his days in New Orleans. Guys like Marquez Colston weren't just good receivers. They were physical, reliable, and willing to do the dirty work. Jennings fits that mold perfectly. His blocking ability isn't just a bonus. It could fundamentally change how this offense operates. With him on the field, Payton could disguise plays more effectively, running out of heavy passing sets or passing out of run sets because defenses would have to respect his blocking just as much as his receiving. That level of unpredictability is huge, especially for a young quarterback like Bo Nix. And speaking of Nix, let's talk about why this matters for his development. Bo showed flashes of toughness last year. Remember that game against the Raiders when he got knocked down hard, got up, and got in a defender's face? That's the mentality you want your QB to have, and pairing him with a receiver who brings the same fire could set the tone for this offense for years to come. Jennings isn't just a player who makes plays. He's the kind of guy who can rally an entire unit with his attitude. Imagine the confidence boost for a young quarterback knowing he's got a receiver who will not only fight for every yard but also protect him by setting the tone physically every single snap. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, money. With Garrett Wilson's mega deal resetting the market, Courtland Sutton's camp is almost certainly going to ask for a big raise. Right now, Sutton's contract looks like a bargain compared to Wilson's, but if Sutton pushes for something closer to $20 million a year, adding Jennings becomes a tightrope act. Payton and George Payton are going to have to make some tough calls. Do you lock in Sutton as your proven WR1, or do you take a chance on Jennings bringing a different kind of energy to the offense? The Broncos do have an advantage here with Bo Nix still on his rookie deal, meaning there's financial flexibility to take some risks. And let's not forget, the Walton Penner ownership has the resources to structure deals creatively with heavy guarantees up front if that's what it takes. And while we're on the topic of leadership, Patrick Surtain continues to prove he's not just the best player on the Broncos defense, but one of the premier players in the league. His signing with Jordan Brand isn't just a cool endorsement, it's a statement. Michael Jordan doesn't put his name on just anyone. Surtain being in the same company as guys like Devontae Adams and Dak Prescott is a huge nod to how respected he is around the league. And don't overlook what that does for team morale. Having players like Surtain and potentially Jennings in the locker room sets a standard for competitiveness and professionalism. So here's the big question, Broncos fans, if you're Sean Payton, do you push the chips in and make this move now, even with Sutton's new deal looming? Or do you wait, roll with your current receiver room, and risk missing out on a player who could bring exactly the kind of toughness and attitude this offense desperately needs? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Should Denver pay the price to get Jawan Jennings, or is that too big of a gamble right before training camp? And if you're loving this kind of inside talk, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It helps us keep these deep dives coming. And don't go anywhere. Check out the videos popping up on your screen right now for even more Broncos updates. Go Broncos! Something huge might be on the horizon for Denver, and if this happens, it could be one of the most important moves Sean Payton has made since arriving. There's a player out there right now who could completely change the personality of this offense, not just another wide receiver to run routes and catch passes, but a real tone setter. A guy who plays so physical and so tough that defenders hate going up against him. And here's the kicker, the Denver Broncos are reportedly one of the teams trying to make it happen. This isn't about bringing in just another target for Bo Nix, this is about changing the entire culture of the offense. And trust me, if Sean Payton pulls this off, it might be the exact piece we've been missing since our last Super Bowl run. But before I get deeper into this story, hit that like button if you've been a Broncos fan through the ups and downs, and let me know you're part of this ride by dropping this in the comments. Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue. If you want this team back in the Super Bowl, you're going to love what I'm about to tell you. The player we're talking about is Jawan Jennings, the wide receiver from the San Francisco 49ers who has officially asked for a new deal or a trade. The 49ers are in a bad spot financially. They've been throwing money at stars like Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and Brandon Ayuk, and now they simply don't have the cap space to keep everyone. Jennings is 28, in his prime, and both the Broncos and the Patriots have reportedly been inquiring about him. But here's why Jennings is so special.